The reality is that most Americans consume way too many calories. Did you know that the average adult in the US eats about 3,600 calories a day? Let's address the elephant in the room. Is it all about the calories? The answer is both yes and no. To lose weight, you need to consume fewer calories than you burn. That's science. But no, because not all calories are created equal. The effect those calories have on your metabolism, insulin levels, and overall health depends on their source and nutrient density. This is basically the opposite of what ultra-processed foods do. They make you more hungry because they have very poor nutrient density. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Extend podcast, where we explore the 20% of insights that drive 80% of our health, wellness, longevity, and mindset. Today, we're diving into a topic that stirs up a lot of discussion and sometimes confusion when it comes to our health: calorie control. We often hear that controlling calories is key to weight management, but is it really as simple as calories in and calories out? And does this principle apply universally? Or are there nuances that make all the difference? So let's break it down. First, let's address the elephant in the room. Is it all about the calories? The answer is both yes and no. Yes, because the laws of thermodynamics are immutable. To lose weight, you need to consume fewer calories than you burn. That's science. But no, because not all calories are created equal. The effect those calories have on your metabolism, insulin levels, and overall health depends on their source and nutrient density. For example, 200 calories from a sugary soda impact your body very differently than 200 calories from a salmon fillet. One spikes your insulin and adds empty calories, while the other provides protein and omega-3s that fuel your body, stabilize your metabolism, and cause you to feel satiated. It's not just about the numbers, it's about the impact. Let's now explore the three methods that people often use to control their weight that Peter Attia actually does a really good job talking about in his book, Outlive. These are calorie restriction, dietary restriction, and time restriction. Each approach has its pros and cons, and it's crucial to figure out what works best for you. As Dr. Attia says, you should always be pulling one of these levers, often pull two of these levers, and sometimes pull all three. Let's talk first about overall calorie restriction. This is the simplest to understand, basically, because it's just you eat less. Many people use apps like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer to track their daily intake, and these tools can be incredibly effective. The Japanese call this method of eating until you're 80% full hara hachibu. This practice originates from Okinawan culture, which is a common saying, and it's an approach to mindful eating. It encourages stopping eating before feeling completely full, which helps prevent overeating and supports better digestion and long-term health. The reality is that most Americans consume way too many calories. Did you know that the average adult in the US eats about 3,600 calories a day? That's well above the recommended levels for most people, especially considering that most people are sedentary almost all day long. Cutting down even slightly can have a significant impact on your health. But calorie restriction isn't just about eating less, it's about eating smart. Prioritizing nutrient-dense foods so you're not just reducing calories, but also fueling your body with what it needs to thrive is what automatically will result in less intake and more satiety. This is basically the opposite of what ultra-processed foods do. They make you more hungry because they have very poor nutrient density. So how many calories do you really need every day? And how does caloric deficit lead to weight loss? Understanding this, how many calories you need each day, really depends on your age, gender, weight, height, and activity level. Your basal metabolic rate, or BMR, the calories your body burns at rest, forms the foundation of this, which is then adjusted based on your activity level. There's a formula for this that helps you figure this out. For example, a moderately active 180-pound man might need about 2,790 calories a day, while a 150-pound woman might need about 2,170 calories a day. Creating a caloric deficit, eating fewer calories than your body needs, leads to weight loss by forcing your body to use stored fat for energy. Since 1 pound of fat equals about 3,500 calories, a daily deficit of 500 calories can result in about losing 1 pound a week. However, as we talk about all the time, not all calories are created equal. A donut and salmon fillet might have similar calorie counts, but their effects on your metabolism, hunger, and overall health are worlds apart. Also remember that drastic deficits can backfire, so aim for a balanced, gradual change that supports your long-term health goals. It's also beneficial to understand how the human body uses calories on a daily basis. This concept is called total energy expenditure. Total energy expenditure, or TEE, is a total number of calories your body burns in a day, and is divided into 3 main components: BMR, NEAT, and TEF. First is basal metabolic rate, BMR, which accounts for the largest portion, 60 to 70%, and represents the energy used for basic functions like breathing and maintaining body temperature. You don't have much control over your BMR other than by staying active and having good overall metabolic rate. Next, let's talk about non-exercise activity thermogenesis, or NEAT, which is about 15% of your energy expenditure. This includes calories burned through everyday activities like walking around, fidgeting, or doing chores. This is why it's incredibly important to get in those 8,000 steps a day. Finally, there's a thermic effect of food, or TEF, T-E-F. This is the energy required to digest, absorb, and process food. And believe it or not, this is actually 10% of your daily energy expenditure. Finally, you can add on exercise activity thermogenesis, or EAT, E-A-T. This refers to the calories burned through intentional exercise, such as running or lifting weights. This is the lowest portion of all caloric expenditure for most people. It's also the reason that spending countless hours on a treadmill often doesn't result in weight loss for so many people. So what's the main message here? Make sure you are staying active, take in less calories overall on a daily basis, and keep moving throughout the day. Maintain your muscle mass as a priority to have long-term fat mass control. Next, let's talk about the other method of caloric control called dietary restriction. This method involves cutting out specific types of food or food groups. Think keto, vegan, paleo. These are all different forms of just dietary restriction. At their core, they're just another way to reduce calories. For example, by eliminating carbohydrates on a keto diet, you're naturally reducing your caloric intake. Dietary restrictions can work for many people because they provide a structured framework. But they aren't a one-size-fits-all solution. The key here is sustainability. Find a dietary pattern that fits your lifestyle and aligns with your health goals. In reality, massive studies have shown that most people cannot follow a named dietary pattern for more than 12 months, and most will gain all the way back that they have initially lost. My personal feeling about named diets, as many of you might know from my previous episodes, is that I actually dislike all of them. I prefer to have my patients stick to a diet that prioritizes real food and simply pick an eating pattern that provides nutrient density while minimizing blood glucose spikes. Lastly, let's talk about the last method called time restriction eating. Time-restricted eating, often referred to as fasting, is another popular approach to control calories. The most common method of these are the 16-8 dietary pattern. This involves eating during an 8-hour window and fasting for the other 16 hours. Research shows that time restriction, especially early time-restricted feeding, where you delay breakfast and stop eating earlier in the day, can improve insulin sensitivity, metabolic health, and even inflammation. But fasting is not for everyone. For example, many women, especially postmenopausal or menopausal women, may experience hormonal and stress imbalances if they fast too long. Dr. Mindy Pelz, in her book Fast Like a Girl, offers tailored strategies for women navigating fasting. Also, fasting is not ideal for pregnant or breastfeeding women and those engaged in intense training like for a marathon or triathlon. And let's not forget, inadequate protein intake during fasting can in some people lead to muscle loss, which is the opposite of what we want. So when you're fasting, please make sure you're maintaining adequate protein intake. Start with protein. As with everything in medicine, there's no universal answer. You have to experiment and see what works for you. Some tools that I have all my patients use to guide their journey are a bioimpedance scale to track their muscle mass and fat mass, a continuous glucose monitor to understand how your body reacts to different foods and different eating patterns, and also wearables to monitor factors like HRV, heart rate variability, and overall recovery as you test these methods. If you tried all the methods above, calorie restriction, dietary restriction, and time-restricted eating, and nothing seems to work despite doing everything right, like exercising and getting good sleep, it might be time to consult a doctor. For some, modifying GLP-1 receptors with medications like semaglutide might be an option. These medications can help regulate appetite and metabolism for those who struggle with weight loss due to genetic or hormonal factors. So is calorie control important for overall health? Absolutely. But it's about so much more than just counting numbers. It's about understanding how those numbers interact with your body and your unique physiology. As always, you must always be your own best advocate. Experiment, track your progress, and find out what's working for you. No one is going to care more about your own health than you do. So commit to taking personal responsibility for your caloric intake, your glucose curve, and trying different dietary patterns until you find one that works. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who might find it helpful, and don't forget to leave us a review. Your support helps us bring more health-transforming conversations to light. See you next time on the Extend podcast.